Veeronica has officially been added to Forsaken, so you can now skate to your heart's intent. In this video, I'm going to be doing a detailed showcase of her abilities and stats, give some tips on how to use her, and how you can counter her as a killer. Hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. She has 100 health, a walk speed of 12, a sprint speed of 26, and a max stamina of 100. First of all, she has a passive ability called Metal Frame. Veeronica is unable to use healing items like medkits or pizzas from Elliot's. Instead, she has a rechargeable battery which she can use to heal herself for a total of 50 HP at 100 charge. This battery will start at 50% and increase by 8% for each generator puzzle completed. She has 4 different abilities, her first one being Vandalism. When activated, V takes out a can of spray paint, which she can use to spray graffiti on any wall. The graffiti has a large rectangular zone coming out of it, which correlates with her next ability. You can place up to 3 graffitis, but the killer is able to remove them, so it's a good idea to try and hide them. Her second ability is Skate. If you're within the radius of a graffiti, you can activate this ability and start riding a skateboard. This will gradually drain your stamina, but if you're headed towards a wall or object, you'll start flashing pink, and you can jump to perform a trick, regaining 5 stamina. Also, every 3 tricks you get plus 5% to your battery. It also speeds you up, so it's very important to make sure you're doing a lot of tricks. Once your stamina runs out, the skateboard is put away. If you crash into a wall, you take a bit of damage and stop skating, so don't be too reckless. Her next ability is Broadcast. It has 3 different modes: phase, bumper, and mobile. These all affect skate in different ways. When in phase mode, if you collide with the killer, you gain resistance 2 for 3 seconds and speed 4 for 2 seconds while phasing through the killer. You also gain 15% on your battery. You also bounce off of walls you run into instead of losing your skateboard, but you still take 5 self damage. When in bumper mode, Veeronica will knock back the killer if crashing into them, charging her battery 15%. Crashing into the killer does no self damage, but immediately ends the skate. The final mode, mobile, buffs your movement. The increased turning from a trick is extended for 1 second after landing. However, she now takes 3x the amount of self damage from crashing, so be careful. Her final ability is Battery. When activated, the battery is slowly drained, healing your health. At 100%, the battery can heal up to 50 health, but if you are hit while healing, it is interrupted and has a 55-second cooldown. This ability does not slow you down while being used, so it's a very powerful healing ability. That's it for all her stats and abilities. Now, how can you use her to make sure the killer never gets you? First of all, make sure to spread out your graffiti across the map. That way you always have a close by safe spot to run towards. If they're all in one area, not only will it make it easier for the killer to get rid of them all, you'd also have to run all the way back if you happen to be at the other side of the map. It's also a good idea to try and stay close by to a couple of graffitis, since if you start skating with low stamina, you won't get very far. When placing your graffiti, try and put them in spots that aren't visible in the open, so the killer can't just get rid of them. They only have to attack it once, and suddenly your escape option is gone. Also, make sure you're doing as many gens as possible, as that's your most reliable way to recover your battery. Sure, you can ram into them using bumper, but that's going to end up in more damage than it will heal. You're probably wondering which broadcast mode you should be using. Personally, I think it's between phase and mobile. Phase is the safest, most reliable option, letting you go through the killer and bounce off walls. It's quite easy to do tricks and skate away when nobody is chasing you, but personally, when you have a guest 666 behind you, tricks are suddenly really easy to mess up. But if you're confident in your skills, I'd say use mobile. You have a lot better mobility at the price of taking more self damage. So if crashing isn't an issue for you, mobility is definitely your best choice. With all that said, that's pretty much all the advice I have for using them. Now, before I give them a ranking, how can you counter the slippery survivor? Obviously, if you see some graffiti, make sure to get rid of it. But in general, even if you don't see any graffiti, Veeronicas will often hang out near some, so search around the general area they seem to be camping. You should also pay attention to how far the V has managed to go when skating. If they mess up early, they will be low on stamina and easy to kill. It's also not a bad idea to target V first, before they have the chance to get their graffiti out. This will basically leave them helpless, as they can't set up any while being chased. But overall, if you're playing against a really good V, it's going to be frustrating to catch up. So how good is this survivor? Well, they're very map dependent. They're insanely good on a map like Horror Hotel, with many walls to bounce off of, but struggle on more open maps like Planet Voss. I say they're an A tier just because of the inconsistency with maps, and it's pretty easy to mess up your escape. But it definitely has a very high skill ceiling, and I'm not very skilled, so I might be underrating it. Regardless, let me know what you think in the comments below, and whether or not you agree with my rankings. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you haven't already watched it, check out the video I just posted on Guest 666, where I go into depth on their abilities and how to use them. I'll see you guys in the next one.